Hello friends, we are in the 8th week of our course on literature and life. The topic that we have for this presentation is John Millington Synge Riders to the Sea, an introduction. In the next lecture, we will have an analysis. Now, we will see the objectives, look at Synge's life and writings, see a movement called Irish Literary Renaissance, introduce the play Riders to the Sea. It is a one-act play, a tragedy. We will see some dimensions of this play with reference to the source and form and also performance. We will see the characters and the setting, and then we will read a few selected scenes from the play so that we can have an understanding of what the whole play is all about, and then summarize the presentation. Let us see the objectives now. To study the life and writings of John Millington Synge, the Irish playwright, to gain insight into the Irish literary renaissance, to examine Synge's play Riders to the Sea. Next, to study the source, the form and performance of the play, how it was received when it was performed on stage. To describe the characters and setting of the play, and finally to explore a few selected scenes from the play for us to have a glimpse of what the whole play is all about. Let us begin with the playwright's life. John Millington Synge was born in 1871 and he died in 1909. He lived for about 37 years, and within these 37 years he was able to leave a legacy for Irish literature. He was initially trained as a musician, but he abandoned music for the sake of literature. He followed the advice of William Butler Yeats to visit the Aran Islands and contribute to the Irish language and literature. Synge travelled widely and studied various languages and cultures. For example, he visited different parts of the Irish west coastal areas, especially the Aran Islands, several times to understand the people and the culture of those people. He was actively interested in the Irish National Theatre Society and the Abbey Theatre, and so he contributed to the theatre with his plays. However, he suffered from a disease called Hodgkin's disease. It is a kind of cancer, and he died because of this disease. We have a statement from this author which is found in his one-act play Riders to the Sea. We see this quotation like this: "No man at all can be living forever, and we must be satisfied. Whatever life is given to us, we must be satisfied with that." So, that is the understanding of John Millington Synge from this life. Let us see the titles of his writings. He has written one-act plays, two-act plays, three-act plays, and also some non-fiction writing. We have two examples for the one-act plays, In the Shadow of Glen and Riders to the Sea. Next, we have two-act plays, When the Moon Has Set and The Tinker's Wedding. The first play, When the Moon Has Set, was not completed by Synge, and it had different versions and variations. Let us now come to the three-act plays. The Well of the Saints, the Playboy of the Western World. This is considered to be the masterpiece of John Millington Synge. And lastly, we have Deirdre of the Sorrows. And lastly, we have non-fiction writing in the form of a prose collection, that is the Aran Islands. It has many parts. Synge found many of the sources of his writing from the Aran Islands, from his own experiences. Now, let us come to the Irish literary renaissance, which is otherwise known as Celtic revival. It was a great period of modern Irish writing from 1880 to 1939, when William Butler Yeats died. Irish literary renaissance was a distinct national literature based on Irish history, legend and folklore. This was mostly written in the English language outside Ireland. The Irish National Theatre Society was formed in Ireland with this particular theatre called the Abbey Theatre. The society supported the publication of Samhain magazine, which published many of these writings, poems, plays, novels, short stories and all. We have some representative authors of this Irish literary renaissance here under various categories. For example, we have poets like W.B. Yeats, A.E., whose original name is George William Russell, and Oliver St. John Gogarty. For playwrights, we have Lady Augusta Gregory, John Millington Synge and C.N.O. Casey. For novelists, we have two great novelists, George Moore and James Joyce. These writers contributed to the Irish literary renaissance in the late 19th century and early 20th century. Now we are going to discuss the play that we have chosen, Riders to the Sea. It is a one-act play and it was written in 1903 at the height of the Irish nationalist movement. It was originally published in 1903 in the magazine Samhain, which was supported by the Irish Literary Theatre. It was adapted into an opera by Ralph Vaughan Williams. It was also translated into Italian language by none other than James Joyce. It is considered to be one of Ireland's most loved plays. Also, some critics say that this is the most perfect one-act play in the English language. No wonder it is called a flawless masterpiece. That's why we have chosen this play to represent the one-act play, especially for tragedy. Let's see the source from which the play has arisen. Synge visited the Aran Islands many times. His last visit was in 1901. He heard about a ghost story recorded in part 4 of his book, The Aran Islands. We have an extract from this book. Let's read it. This has some significance for us to understand the origin of the play Riders to the Sea. When the horses were coming down to the slip, an old woman saw her son that was drowned a while ago riding on one of them. She didn't say what she was after seeing, and this man caught the horse. He caught his own horse first and then he caught this one, and after that he went out and was drowned. So we have a mother and we have a man who drowns in the sea. He also has a horse, and this is the kind of situation we will have in the play Riders to the Sea. Riders are the horse riders. They go to the sea or they want to sail through the sea, but they are drowned. This play shows Synge's capacity to secure the audience's trust due to his realistic presentation of the peasant life. The people in Aran Islands were peasants, so Synge has presented the characters realistically in his play Riders to the Sea and other plays as well. What is the form of the Riders to the Sea? Riders to the Sea is a complex tragedy. It is not an Aristotelian tragedy, as it deals with an ordinary woman's life, her loss and suffering. One line of thinking goes like this, that is, this play is considered to be pathetic rather than tragic. Another line of thinking says this is a flawless tragedy. It deals with man's helplessness in the face of natural forces. Many critics consider this play a modern existential tragedy, anticipating Jean-Paul Sartre and Samuel Beckett. Beckett, by the way, is also an Irish playwright. Synge's ironic portrayal of the essential irrationality and horror of the universe is what we see in the play. We understand that human beings are born to die. The protagonist of the play, Maurya, says at the end, "The sea has taken all my sons now, I don't have to worry about anything more." So there is no more son to lose to the sea. How was this play performed and how was it received? This play was first performed at Molesworth Hall, Dublin on 25th February in 1904. However, at the end of the play, it did not receive applause from the audience. They were either engrossed in the tragedy or they were unable to comprehend the rural island life. One strange thing was most of the plays of Synge were received with some kind of writing, but this is the only play which did not see any writing in the theatre hall. This play became a staple of the amphitheatre. That means it was performed several times. Though it received mixed responses from critics, it was able to receive good responses from critics and audience in London and other countries. Who are the characters that we have in this play? We have the protagonist Maurya. She is an old mother of 8 children. We have 2 daughters for Maurya. One is Kathleen. She is the elder daughter, about 20 years old. We have the younger daughter Nora, who is younger to Kathleen. We also have 6 sons of Maurya, but almost 5 of them die before the play begins. Only Bartley, the youngest son, is left, and at the end of the play we notice that Bartley, the youngest son, also dies. Michael is the favorite son of Maurya, and he had recently passed away. We have some names of the neighbors of Maurya. They come here to support her. We also have some women who cry when somebody dies. So this keening refers to crying women at the loss of a son or at the loss of a person. We also have an offstage character called the priest. He is considered to be a young father who has the role of counseling, supporting these people psychologically and spiritually. The play is set in a village called Inishmaan on the Irish western coast in the Aran Islands. Specifically, we find the kitchen in a cottage. We have many realistic stage properties. We have listed many of them here: the nets, the oil skins, the spinning wheel. We can see that a character spins a wheel. There is a stool, the hearth, the turf, the cake. Further, we have many other features like the ladder, the bundle of clothes, the knife, the whiteboard, the rope, the stick, the wind. Along with the wind, we also have the sea, the ship, the horse. These are mentioned in the play. The lamentations of the women we can hear when we watch the play, or when we read the play. We can understand that there are many women who cry at the death of some people. We have some selected scenes from the play. We begin with the opening scene. Nora is a younger daughter, and in a low voice she asks a question. Where is she? That she refers to Maurya. The elder daughter Kathleen replies, she is lying down. God help her, and maybe sleeping if she is able. That means we can understand that she is unable to sleep, and she thinks about the losses that she has faced in her life. Her husband passed away. She has lost almost all sons except Bartley, and she is full of sorrow. Now Nora comes in softly and takes a bundle from under her shawl, and Kathleen, who is spinning the wheel rapidly, is asking, what is it you have? Nora replies, the young priest is after bringing them. It is a shirt and a plain stocking were got off a drowned man in Donegal. Donegal is a place in the islands. Now suddenly Kathleen stops her wheel with a sudden movement and leans out to listen, because Michael, who went to the sea, hasn't returned for 9 days. That means some bundle of clothes has come to the house. There is something that they have to worry about. Nora now tells the truth. We are to find out if it is Michael's they are. Sometime herself will be down looking by the sea. What is the relationship between Maurya and Bartley? Maurya is the mother. She loves her children, but she loves Michael more than any other child, and Bartley has some kind of complex relationship with his mother. So we have some conversation between them. Maurya tells her son, you would do right to leave that rope, Bartley, hanging by the boards. Maurya tells her son, don't take that rope. Bartley takes that rope. It will be wanting in this place, I am telling you. if Michael is washed up tomorrow morning or the next morning or any morning in the week, for it is a deep grave, we will make him by the grace of God. The person who has not returned to the house for several days is considered to be dead by the mother herself. Bartley replies, beginning to work with the rope, he says to his mother, I have no halter the way I can ride down on the mare, and I must go now quickly. This is the one boat going for 2 weeks or beyond it, and the fare will be a good fare for horses, I heard them saying below. Bartley plans to go to a fair in Galway and he wants to sell the horse. Maurya replies, it's a hard thing they will be saying below if the body is washed up and there is no man in it to make the coffin. And I, after giving a big price for the finest white boards you would find in Connemara. Connemara is another place in Ireland. They have bought a white board as a coffin for Michael, and Bartley doesn't want to stay here. He wants to go out to the fair so that he can sell a horse, and the mother wants the son Bartley to stay back so that they can give a decent burial for the lost son Michael. We also understand more about Maurya and Bartley now. Bartley says, how would it be washed up, and we after looking each day for 9 days and a strong wind blowing while back from the west and south? Maurya replies, if it wasn't found itself, that wind is raising the sea, and there was a star up against the moon and it rising in the night. If it was 100 horses or 1,000 horses you had itself, this is the most important part of this talk of Maurya. What is the price of 1,000 horses against a son where there is one son only? Maurya has lost 5 sons already. Only Bartley is left. Bartley wants to go to the sea, that is cross the sea to another place, but then she is afraid she may lose the only remaining son. But the son Bartley doesn't listen to her. He is doing something with the halter, the rope, and he says to his sister, let you go down each day and see the sheep aren't jumping in on the rye, and if the jobber comes you can sell the pig with the black feet if there is a good price going. So now the elder daughter Kathleen is looking after the house. He tells her to think of this sheep and also the pig. If some broker comes, they could sell it for a higher price. Now this is again another important event in the play to identify Michael's clothes. If they confirm that these clothes belong to Michael, then they could be sure that Michael is lost. Kathleen and Nora, they have this conversation. Kathleen says, it's the same stuff, Nora, but if it is itself, aren't there great rolls of it in the shops of Galway? And isn't it many another man may have a shirt of it as well as Michael himself? This bundle of clothes, there may be several kinds like this. We don't have to think that it belongs to Michael only. Nora says, who has taken up the stocking and counted the stitches, she cries out. She does some kind of verification by counting the stitches in the clothes. Nora says, it's Michael, Kathleen, it's Michael, God spare his soul. And what will herself say when she hears his story and Bartley on the sea? Bartley has left and Michael now is confirmed to be dead after counting the number of stitches which Nora has done. Kathleen, now taking the stocking, says it's a plain stocking. Nora replies, it is the second one of the third pair I knitted, and I put up 70 stitches and I dropped 4 of them. And now Kathleen counts the stitches and says, yes, it is that number, isn't it? Ah, Nora, isn't it a bitter thing to think of him floating that way to the far north and no one to keen him but the black hags that do be flying on the sea? Kathleen also now starts sobbing, crying, and she understands that the body of Michael might not have received a good burial. Some flying witches might have seen the body of Michael. That's why she is crying. When one dies, if one doesn't find a decent burial, that itself is very sad for people. Maurya has had a vision of Michael appearing before her. That's why we have Maurya's vision of her son. Kathleen speaks to her mother. You did not, mother, it wasn't Michael you seen. Kathleen tells Maurya, you haven't seen Michael, for his body is after being found in the far north and he has got a clean burial by the grace of God. That is some kind of consolation that she wants to give to Maurya. A little defiantly, Maurya says, no, 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 he is not found in the far north. I saw him here in our own place. So Maurya says, I am after seeing him this day, and he riding and galloping. Bartley came first on the red mare, and I tried to say, God speed you, but something choked the words in my throat. He went by quickly, and the blessing of God on you, says he, and I could say nothing. I looked up then, and I crying at the grey pony, and there was Michael upon it, and there was Michael upon it. That is what Maurya believes, that she saw the person of Michael with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet. But Kathleen knows, Nora knows that Michael is dead. Kathleen also starts keening, that means crying for the dead person. Now her worry is her whole family is destroyed. So she says, it is destroyed, we are from this day, it is destroyed surely, because now they have the aged mother to look after. Kathleen and Nora are women and they have no male person in the family to support them. That's why they feel very sad. Now there is a close connection between Maurya and the sea. The simple reason is Maurya has lost her husband to the sea and also all her sons to the sea. So the sea as a mother, as a caregiver for the people of the islands, has played the role of destruction for Maurya. Here one mother has taken all the sons, another real biological mother has lost their sons. So we see the connection between them. Maurya says, she raises her head and speaks as if she did not see the people around her. Without thinking about anybody else, she speaks. This is a very poignant speech in the whole play. They are all gone now, and there isn't anything more the sea can do to me. They are all gone now, and there isn't anything more the sea can do to me. I will have no call now to be up crying and praying when the wind breaks from the south and you can hear the surf is in the east and the surf is in the west, making great stir with the two noises and they hitting one on the other. I will have no call now to be going down and getting holy water in the dark nights after some rain, and I won't care what way the sea is when the other women will be keening. She tells Nora now, give me the holy water, Nora, there is a small sap still on the dresser. So she understands the truth of life, the reality of life. She doesn't have to lose any more sons. She doesn't have to cry for the loss of any more son or male member in her family. She doesn't have to worry about anybody or anything, the nature of the wind or the nature of the sea. She doesn't have to worry anymore. She will do the last rites for Bartley and that's the end of it. And Nora gives the holy water to her mother. Now at last there is a ritual for Bartley. Maurya at that time does this funeral rite. She drops Michael's clothes across Bartley's feet and sprinkles the holy water over him. She says, it isn't that I haven't prayed for you, Maurya tells Bartley. Bartley, it isn't that I haven't prayed for you, Bartley, to the Almighty God. It isn't that I haven't said prayers in the dark night till you wouldn't know what I would be saying. But it's a great rest I will have now, and it's time surely. It's a great rest I will have now and great sleeping in the long nights after some rain. If it is only a bit of wet floor we do have to eat and maybe a fish that would be stinking. Now the poor life of this lady is described in the last few lines. It may be a wet floor to eat, it may be a stinking fish to eat, but we will live with that kind of life. I have lost all of you, what am I to do anymore? That's how she says she will have rest now. Samhain is the kind of ritual they do at the beginning of every year. So the new year doesn't bring her any good news except that she need not worry anymore. The play ends with these words. We have the words of Maurya. Maurya puts the empty cup mouth downwards on the table and lays her hands together on Bartley's feet. They are all together this time and the end is come. May the Almighty God have mercy on Bartley's soul and on Michael's soul and on the souls of Seamus and Patch and Stephen and Sean. These are all the names of her sons. She bends her head over the dead body, and may he have mercy on my soul, Nora, and on the soul of everyone is left living in the world. It's a kind of prayer for the welfare of all living beings, particularly human beings. She pauses, and the keen, that is the crying of the women, and the keen rises a little more loudly from the women and then sinks slowly away. Maurya continues her speech. She says, Michael has a clean burial in the far north by the grace of the Almighty God. Bartley will have a fine coffin out of the white boards and a deep grave surely. What more can we want than that? And here comes the quotation we used earlier. No man at all can be living forever and we must be satisfied. Probably this is one of the ultimate realities we have to understand. We are here, we are born here to die. Why do we worry too much about so many things? Let's take life as it comes. We have the summary of our presentation now. We looked at the objectives of discussing John Millington Synge's play Riders to the Sea. We looked into the life and writings of Synge. We also discussed Irish literary renaissance to which Synge contributed with many plays. Riders to the Sea is a one-act play which is well known for its flawless construction. It has its source from the Aran Islands non-fiction writing of Synge, and the form of the play is a tragedy. Some critics may consider this play to be pathetic rather than tragic, but many critics agree that this is one of the best one-act plays in English language. When it was performed on the stage, the audience did not applaud, but then they also did not indulge in writing as they did in the case of other plays of Synge. We saw the characters of Maurya, Kathleen, Nora, Bartley, Michael, the priest. We mentioned the names of the neighbors from the play. We found the village where the whole play is set in the Aran Islands. Then we read a few selected scenes to understand the play very closely, and so we have the summary here now for you. Here are some references for you if you want to learn more about John Millington Synge's plays, his writings, particularly this play Riders to the Sea. You should read one or two articles. For example, Darnagu has a beautiful article on Synge Riders to the Sea, a study. You can read others as well, but at least one or two if you read, you will have a better understanding of this best one-act play in the English language. Thank you.